Shalom.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Try it again.
Shalom. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Leave it where it's at. For some reason, it's still not. I still can't hear it on this, and my volume's all the way up.
A little bit. Probably delay.
Sit in front of it so I can time it. 1 2 1 2. There it is.
Shalom, Yahbashim Yahshai Barakathum, to all my brothers. Yahweh Shema, Allah Bashim Yahshai, to all my sisters. We're the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We've been teaching that so-called Negroes, so-called Hispanics, so-called Native Indians are the Lord's chosen people, according to the Bible. We've been teaching this truth since 1969 under Commander General Yohana. Today's our history class. Salakia, technical difficulties. Satan at work today. But today's a history class. We're gonna go, a lot of interesting stuff is going on right now in the news. And we're gonna touch upon some history and show you that history repeats itself. So we're gonna talk about World War I and World War II today. Go over a historical timeline and the causes of that led up to these events. We'll also go over the Cold War, which is still going on today between America and Russia. So we're going to touch on a couple of things today. But before we do that, we quickly got to get questions out the way. Any questions? If not, I got to get right to it. Rock, if you can go to
No questions on the Facebook.
I'm gonna send you a link, Rock. Okay.
10 out of 1 10.
I'm gonna send you a link. Just let's see. No questions?
No questions on the Facebook. No questions on the YouTube as of right now.
Okay. All right. I just sent you a link. If you can just try to find that for me real quick. Okay, so what do we know about World War I and World War II? And what led up to it? We'd have to go back to around, I want to say 1914 was the inception of World War I. It was a 4-year war, and the conflict initially was between the Austrian-Hungary, is that how you say it? Hungary? Hungary
is correct.
Yeah,
they call it Hungarian.
Yeah. So it was between the Austrian and Hungary. Sound weird saying it. Hungary states and the Serbians, and the events that led up to that conflict caused the whole world to come up in arms, and the world was divided between the Allies, or actually I want to say the Allies and the Axis was World War II. But we're going to get a timeline of it. We're going to go through this timeline and understand that the prophecies that are in the scriptures are accurate and true. And since 1969, we've been teaching these prophecies. As you can see, they're coming to pass. The thoughts of rumors of wars, and you can see you're getting a play-by-play look into what the Most High has put in these scriptures. But before we get started, did you get the link?
Con out of 1 con.
Go to Rumors of Wars, Matthew 24. I'm saying? It's starting to heat up. You know what I'm saying? The Most High, it says in the scriptures, the Most High bloweth the coals. You know what I mean? And He's the one that's causing these scientists to make these instruments of war. He's the one that's causing these scientists to create these war machines. He's the one that's causing these politicians to create this propaganda machine.
You want to go directly to rumors of war, or you want to?
Yeah, just get right to that. Yeah, this is Christ speaking about the last days, and if you're a man or if you're a brother or sister in UPK, you have no need to worry about these times. You know what I'm saying? At these times, you should kick back, relax. You know, it's like watching a movie. You know what I'm saying? What do they call that? What's the term they use for Netflix?
Netflix and chill.
Netflix and chill. This is a Netflix and chill moment that's going on in the world. And you know, if you're a brother or sister in the schools, you should just sit back, relax. You know, get some popcorn, and let the Most High stir up the nations. You know what I mean? And this is why it's very important. These history classes are very important because, you know, the Bible prophesies the 3 woes that are going to happen, and the first 2 woes already passed. Meaning, there has been no other event in the world where, you know, where it's been titled as a world war. Every event in the world after the World War II has been considered a conflict, right? Or troopers occupying a certain area in the world, you know what I mean? But it's never been considered a war, a world war at that. But yeah, let's get that real quick before we get started.
Matthew chapter 24, verse 6.
Go ahead.
And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars.
Listen, you ain't got nothing to worry about, man. You're going to hear of wars. You're going to hear rumors of wars. You know what I'm saying? Just sit back and relax, man. Let the Most High do His thing. The Most High is going to be stirring up these nations. Now, the people that are outside of the school are unaware of what's to come. You know what I mean? Because they don't have the truth, nor do they ever want this kingdom to fall. You know what I mean? The men and sisters, the brothers and sisters that are in the military, they don't want this kingdom to fall. The ones that are police officers, they don't want this system to fall. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, as all other kingdoms that were at their peak and that rose in power because of the Most High, all those kingdoms fell. And America's going to fall too. And what we got to understand is that we are going to hear of wars, and we're going to hear of rumors of wars. Anything else on that?
Count out on count. See that ye be not troubled.
See that you be not troubled, man. Listen, you ain't got to listen. Sit back and chill, man. Netflix and chill is what I call it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, sit back and chill, man. You know what I'm saying? When you are not troubled, it doesn't bother you. There's not a thought of worrying. You know what I'm saying? There's not a thought of what we're going to do, how we're going to prepare. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have all these nuts out here, you know, thinking that they can prepare for the inevitable, right? Thinking that they're going to be doomsday preppers. You know, some of these nuts are going to be digging, you know, 60-foot holes, thinking that they can hide from the destruction to come. You can't hide from the destruction to come. You know what I'm saying? Just like, understand this, right? Salaki, right? Let me ask you a question, right? My OneNote is on that laptop, right? You know what a OneNote is?
I know what it is.
Yeah. I'm wondering. I got it. I found it.
You got it?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I just got it downloaded. All right. I'm gonna let that download, but let's find out the cause of World War I. Let's get to that first, right?
Slaka, so there's more on that verse.
We can hold off on the pestilence and all that. We'll hold off on that. I don't want to jump the gun. But go ahead. Give me the bookmark that you pulled up. Let me just install this real quick, Salaki.
Want me to start, sir?
Yeah, I'm gonna get there with you. I'm just letting this download. Go ahead.
40 maps that explain World War I.
Now, the reason why I want to bring up these maps, normally we have a screen sharing, but I'm not in front of the computer to be able to point out certain things. But we're gonna look into this, all right? Read from the top.
100 years ago today, on August 4th, 1914,
Go ahead.
German troops began pouring over the borders into Belgium.
Now, keep in mind, right? Germany, Austria, and Hungary, they were the ones that controlled Western Europe, you know what I mean, at the time. And there was one event that led to the First World War where, how do you describe a world war? This is how you describe it, right? Imagine you're in school, right? I think, who said this the best? I think Captain, he described this the best. Captain Sakaward described this the best, right?
That's the name right there.
He explained it like this. He said, imagine you're in school, right? And everyone in school is about 5'8", right? And there's two bullies in the school that are about 6'6", right? And those two bullies, they're bullying everybody in the school, right? Now, let's say if one of the bullies, right, was bullying you, what would you do in that situation?
Me, I would pick a side.
You would try to go to the other bully for what? To be his
Protection.
ally,
Yeah.
to be his friend, for protection. So that way, when the one that is bullying you sees you with this 6'6" giant, he's gonna fall back. See, we're gonna explain World War I and World War II. And after World War II, America and Russia became the two superpowers of the world,
Two big bullies.
right? And so every overthrow or every coup that you've seen since World War II, America and Russia have something to do with it. Every single one. From the invasion of Iraq, Afghanistan, Egypt, where the president was ousted, Gaddafi in Libya. America and Russia had a hand in this, and mainly the last couple of years, Russia has been saying America's the one that's causing all these overthrows, that's causing all these rebellions. And so this is what I want you to picture in your mind when you think of the Cold War and all these proxy wars that you've seen that's gone on in China or in what's the most recent one in South America?
Venezuela?
In Venezuela. It's always been like that since 1945. You know what I mean?
Huh.
But let's read. Let's start with World War I first. Go ahead.
Starting the first major battle of World War I,
Go ahead.
the Great War killed 10 million people.
So World War I killed 10 million people, right? And there was one big reason why this war sparked off and why all the Allies had to come in, and now it became something that was, you know, it became something that created a divide in the world, right? For the first time, you've seen the whole world in a conflict. You know, usually when there's a war between two parties, you might have a couple allies here and there, but this is what led to the World War I and World War II is what led to the League of Nations, right?
Huh.
It's what led to the UN, the United Nations. But go ahead.
Kananawan Khan. We drew the map of Europe and marked the rise of the United States as a global power.
Now, Eastern Europe and Western Europe, right? Let me just pull up my OneNote real quick, Salakia. I want to give you the most accurate information. Bear with me, y'all. Now, Eastern Europe and Western Europe, right? The line between the two was Germany around that time, right? But Germany was part of Western Europe. But the line that split Eastern Europe and Western Europe was actually Germany. Salakia, I'm pulling it up. Keep reading.
Kananawan Khan.
So 10 million people died in World War I, and I'm going to show you why 10 million people died in World War I. Go ahead.
Here are 40 maps that explain the conflict,
Go ahead.
why it started.
All right, Salakia, I think I found it. I just got to load this profile real quick. Go ahead. Let's find out why it started.
How the Allies won and why the world has never been the same.
So when the Allies won, the world has never been the same. Understand, the major players in this at this time when this conflict started was the Austrian-Hungary states as well as the Ottoman Empire, right? And it's going to explain exactly what was going on in Central Europe at that time. And the two most powerful states, number one being Germany, and number two being the Austro-Hungarian Empire. This was the main focus of World War I. And keep reading. Go down.
Kananawan Khan. Immediately prior to the war's outbreak in 1914,
Go ahead.
Central Europe was dominated by two powerful states, Germany to the north and its weaker cousin, Austria-Hungarian.
So the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. So these are the two states that dominated Central Europe. Keep reading.
To the south, the two countries formed the core of the Central Powers,
Go ahead.
also known as the Quadruple Alliance, but because they were joined after war began by Bulgaria and the Ottoman Empire.
Now pay attention to the
Modern
Ottoman
Turkey.
Empire, right? Modern Turkey. Pay attention to it because it's going to explain exactly what was going on and how the Ottoman Empire became disbanded, how the Ottoman Empire became no more after World War I. Now keep in mind, right? Keep in mind, we're also going to go into how after the World War I, how the nations came together, the Allied nations came together, and they taxed the major player in the world, Germany, and what led, we're also going to show you what led to the Holocaust, what led to the rise of Adolf Hitler. But go ahead.
Kananawan Khan. The other major pre-war alliance was the Triple
Entente.
Entente.
Right? So the Triple Entente, there was three nations that were the main focus of the Allied Empire. It's going to read it right now. Go ahead. Russia,
Great Britain, and
France, right? These are the three nations, right? What were they called?
Called the Allied powers during the war.
Okay, go ahead.
These alliances set the stage for a massive war.
So now you had Germany, you had the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, you had the Ottoman Empire, right? Now, here's what you need to understand, right? Countries like Poland, right? If you look at a map, do we have a picture of a map?
I got a couple of pictures.
Okay, so if you look at it, right? Let me just pull it up real quick. If you look at it, right? The Austrian Empire. Let me pull up a map. Salakia. it's better if I pull up this map, because I'm going to tell you how, when the Austrian-Hungarian Empire lost the war, how they got dismantled. I'm going to show you right now on the map. Rock.
Cool.
Wait. Yeah.
I've seen people
You know what I mean? So it explains, like, the maps. In the map, you're going to see how the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, how after the war, it created several other states in Central Europe that we know today. And I want to pull it up real quick. A couple of those states. Slovakia. See if I can get it right here. So we're looking at, so those states that were created from the Austrian-Hungarian Empire was Georgia, right? Ukraine, Romaine, and all those small little states were created after World War I, when the Austrian-Hungarian Empire completely got dismantled. But go ahead.
Khan out of one Khan. Slovakia.
Yep.
These alliances set the Slovakia. Two members of these blocs could pull in all of the others, as the treaties committed the states to defending their allies.
Go ahead.
And that's exactly what happened.
Okay, so now read the unification of the German Empire. This is where it gets important. Go ahead.
The unification of the German Empire. The Franco-Prussian War 40 years before World War I birthed the unified German states.
Go ahead.
Prussia baited the French into launching a war and then aligned with several small German states to decisively defeat France and seize the economically valuable Alsace-Lorraine province.
Go ahead, keep reading.
The unified Germany that emerged from the war instantly became one of the most powerful states in Europe.
So this is how, during World War I, how the German and the states that were allied with him, like Austria and Hungary, the Hungarian Empire and the Ottoman Empire, this is how they became to control Central Europe. It's because of this war between Prussia and France 40 years before to acquire what they call the Alsace-Lorraine province, right? So once they were able to acquire that province, that allowed them to, instantly become one of the most powerful states in Europe. And that was one of the key things that led to their balance of power. But go, keep reading.
Overturning the continental balance of power.
Go ahead.
Germany's rising power alarmed Britain and Russia.
So now Germany and its states are starting to ring a bell. They're raising an alarm now. It's like, oh, okay, Britain and Russia looking at it like, whoa, what just happened here? Like, how did they rise in power so fast? And so now they got them. Now Britain and Russia has Germany on their radar, right? Go ahead.
Drawing both countries into closer alignment with their longtime rival, France.
Go ahead. So now this is how Britain, Russia, and France became the Allied powers. Because of that Prussian War that happened 40 years prior to World War I, Britain and Russia said, okay, so we need to bring France on our side, because they started to see that Central Europe was going more and more powerful because of these German states. But go ahead.
Two wars in the Balkans failed to settle regional rivalries.
Go ahead. This is just a timeline of what we're going through. Go ahead.
The Balkans, the area around the Aegean Sea in the southeast of Europe, was one of the continent's most volatile regions in 1914.
What does the word volatile mean?
Unsettled, violent. It was a pressure cooker. Things could pop off at any moment.
It's another way of saying the region could easily been taken by anyone. It was weak. Basically the region couldn't hold its position. You know what I mean? So anyone could have came up in there and, is that the word I want to use? But you're right along that sense though. Volatile does mean violence as well. You know what I'm saying? Like when violence erupts. But this region was a little fickle, is what I want to say.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The Balkan states fought two separate wars between 1912 and 1913.
Go ahead.
Serbia, Greece, and Bulgaria had claimed territory from the embattled Ottoman Empire.
Go ahead.
But they had also been at each other's throats.
Go ahead. So Serbia, Greece, and Bulgaria. Ottoman Empire was pretty big at that time. If you really look at the history of the Ottoman Empire was a huge empire that involved a lot of states that you see today in Central Europe. And these three claimed some of them territories in the Ottoman Empire, but at the same time, they were enemies. Can you read it?
Khan, I don't want Khan. But they had also been at each other's throats.
So in this sense, for it to be a volatile region, you're absolutely right. It's more of unsettled chaos, violence, a lot of things erupting in this region at this time. So that region started to fall apart. But go ahead.
The wars expanded Serbia and built an independent Albania, but none of the most important powers were happy. Serbia was furious with Austria-Hungary.
Key thing right here. So now, pause right there. Serbia was furious with Austria-Hungary, right? These two states right here, Serbia and the Austrian-Hungary Empire, is what sparked off World War I. I'll explain. Go ahead.
Which had recently annexed Bosnia.
Go ahead.
For Austria...
What does annex mean?
I've seen this word like a million times.
Yeah, it's used all the time.
Slovakia. I'm trying. Slovakia, bear with me one sec.
Keep in mind, here's a better way to understand what the word annex means. Imagine an empire, right?
I got it, sir.
Go ahead.
Annex, verb. Definition of annex, entry 1 of 2, transitive verb.
Go ahead.
To attach as a quality, consequence, or condition.
Excellent. Keep reading. Next.
2 are to join together materials.
Next one.
3, to add to something earlier, larger, or more important.
So, give me the last one. The last one's probably the best one.
To obtain or take for oneself.
To incorporate, right? So basically, what does America do all the time? America annexes places all the time, right? Wherever they go, they annex the place. They take it for themselves. You know what I'm saying? Because they want their resources, right? So the Austrian-Hungarian Empire was adding on to their empire when they took Bosnia, right? And this outraged Serbia because of that. But go ahead.
You want to go back to what's your name?
Back to Vox.
Slovakia. What's your name? Oh, there it is. Khan. For Austria-Hungary's part, it wanted more vigorous backing from Germany.
Go ahead.
And Russia was committed to deeper support of Serbia, its client state.
So now, who's allies with Serbia? Russia.
Russia.
Right? Okay. And who's allies with Austria and Hungary?
Germany.
Germany, right? It's all about allies. That's what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? These both wars, you're focusing on allies. Which takes a lot of political planning, right? I'll give you an example, right? Why can't the U.S. go into China?
Because a whole bunch of treaties and declarations.
Let's take that out your mind, right? Treaties and declarations. Why is China and Russia allies?
To defend themselves against higher powers like America and
Okay, geographically, where are they located from each other?
next to each other.
Yeah. So how do you get into China?
Without going through Russia.
You got to go through Russia.
Yeah.
And here's the problem with China is that it's surrounded by mountains.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to go in there. So now, if you're thinking on a political scale, it would be wise to join Russia, right?
Yeah.
In these war games, because Russia is a line of defense to safeguard from the other bully, America.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So when you think about Syria, right? When you think about all the allies that Russia has, what is America doing to cripple Russia? They're going in there to stop the pipelines of oil or resources that are going into Russia.
Okay.
That's why they went into Libya. That's why they're going into Egypt. That's why they're trying to go to Syria. But when they got to Syria, what happened?
Got cut off.
The Russians was like, no, you are not going to stop. Like, it's like having a connect, right? And someone keeps going behind your back and robbing your connect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now your connect has no way to give you any supplies because someone's on their block,
Yeah.
right? That's what's going on in the world right now. This proxy war that's going on between America and Russia is a fight between communism and democracy, right? Which is why China is a communist country, right? You can get into the history of China. We'll do that one day. China has a pretty extensive history. But go ahead.
Count out on count. 4. European powers carve up Africa. From 1881.
So now this is when all the European powers decided to what? Colonize Africa, right? The thing about the white man is that our oppressor is that what drives him is imperialism, right? Mm-hmm. The thought of growing his empire, like for America, right? South America is not enough. The Caribbean is not enough. You know what I'm saying? The whole western part of the world is not enough for America, just like Russia. But a place like China, China's content with. They're not about expand. See, China's not about expanding. China's content with the wealth that they're getting, right? They're content with making computers and electronics and clothes and all that stuff, right? They're content. They're not out here. They're not as ambitious as the so-called white man. You know what I'm saying? The white man our oppressor is very ambitious, and he just can't stop. He's power hungry. He wants more and more and more till there's nothing left. The Chinese ain't worried about that. They're worried about making sex dolls. They're worried about creating all the electronics that you see today. You know what I mean? They're worried about commerce, right? But our so-called oppressor, his goal is imperialism. That's his goal. He wants to just. He already runs the world, right? He owns the earth, right? He's the landlord of the earth. That's not enough for him. He got to go to Mars now. He got to go explore the galaxies. You know what I'm saying? It's just not enough for him. But go ahead.
From 1881 right up until World War I, European countries competed to colonize as much African land as they could.
Look at South America, right? Who colonized South America?
Great Britain and Germany.
Great Britain, right? So they were going all throughout Africa, just colonizing, and the idea of imperialism is running rampant all throughout Europe, right? Go ahead.
Britain and France seized the largest parcels of territory during this so-called scramble for Africa.
Go ahead.
German leaders concluded that their lack of naval power hampered their ability to compete in the race for colonies, and thus global influence.
And this is what gave a lot of these European countries global influence. Africa played a big part in that, the colonization of Africa, which is why you could consider it a world war, because as they were going out colonizing, now these states are involved in the war as well, because they're colonized by these European powers. But go ahead.
Count out one count. This was one of several factors that prompted the Kaiser to begin rapidly growing his fleet.
And this is where they were weak at, the Germans. It was their naval power. And this is why they couldn't, withstand the English or the British, because the English and the British had serious naval power at that time. You know what I mean? And understand, when it comes to war games, your Navy plays a big role. You know what I mean? Your Navy's the one that's shooting down those planes that are going through the depths of the sea that are about to hit your territory. You know what I mean? But go ahead.
That damaged British-German relations, as the great source of British strength was its naval superiority.
And that's what it was, right? But go ahead.
Germany challenged that seemed like an existential threat. Colonialism then helped cause a destabilizing naval arms race between the two powers.
And so now, just like America, when they shook the world with the atom bomb, right, on Hiroshima, and dropped it on Japan. They dropped it on Japan twice, right? There was
Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
There was a nuclear power race, right? See, every superpower has to catch up to their competitor. And so when America shook the world by dropping the atom bomb on Japan, what ended up happening was, now Russia said, "Oh snap, we got to scramble and race to get this atomic weapon." And so what did they do? They went around and got all the scientists, rounded them all up, and then finally, when they built their own, they're like, "Okay, we can chill now. Now we're on the same playing field." See, Germany felt like they weren't on the same playing field with the Britons because of their superior naval power. So now as the Britons are going into Africa, cleaning up shop, France is going into Africa cleaning up shop. What's in Africa? Resources, right? What is our oppressor's whole MO? Power and what? How do you get this power? Through resources. Now, if only black and Hispanic people in America understood what they should be marching for. You know what I'm saying? See, we complain, but we're not complaining about getting resources. You know what I'm saying? We're not like, it's all about resources. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead.
Salakia, you just brought up an interesting point with the atom bomb and the nuclear weapons and everything. America is deceiving people America deceiving people by trying to get other nations to disarm their nuclear weapons while they still have their own.
That's right, which is smart.
Which is smart, because you maintain control.
That's right. Like, if I know I'm going to war, right? If I know, like, I have this, let's say I'm the only one in the room with a gun. I walk in the room, I'm the only one. Listen, and that's what I understand about, you have the right to bear arms, right? It would make more sense if somebody ran up in a bank with a gun, right?
Okay.
And everyone else had a gun on them. What do you think would happen?
Nobody would pull their gun.
The bank wouldn't get robbed.
Yeah, it wouldn't get robbed.
People would think twice about robbing you. They would think twice about running up in your house. You know why? Because everyone got guns, right?
Yeah.
But what is the problem? Because everyone does not have guns, right? People know that they can just walk up in a diner, rob everybody blind, and no one can do nothing about it. You're vulnerable. So now, if I have an atomic weapon in my backyard, any wise person would say, well, I don't want my enemies to have one of these. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to do whatever I can do. I'm going to huff and puff, and I'm going to be a bully, and I'm going to make sure that they don't, build nuclear reactors. I'm going to make sure that we sign a treaty or an agreement. We'll talk about that too, the treaty. See, they signed a bunch of treaties after they dropped that. And it literally shook the world. You know what I mean? Like, this was like unheard of. It was like a game changer. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, the Japanese were the first test dummies that just woke up the world and said, okay, we have to sign a nuclear arms treaty to make sure that this never happens again, or we're going to wipe out the world. Because everyone's just going to be pressing that button. You know what I mean? But go ahead.
Turn out of one kind. Britain and France seized the largest parcels territory during the so-called scramble for Africa.
Go ahead.
German leaders concluded that their lack of naval power hampered their ability to compete in the race for colonies and thus global influence. This was one of several factors that prompted the Kaiser to begin rapidly growing his fleet.
All right, so now let's jump out of here, right? Let's get to the reason why World War I happened and what happened later on with Germany. Go to
section.
Give me 7.
7.
This is the reason why World War I happened. Go ahead.
Franz Ferdinand is assassinated.
Go ahead, read this right here.
Austria-Hungarian Archduke Franz Ferdinand arrived in Sarajevo, then part of the Habsburg Dominion, on June 28, 1914.
Right.
He was joined in the city by 7 Serbian terrorists.
Remember, the Serbia and Austria-Hungary, this is where the beef started, right?
There to kill him. By 7 Serbian terrorists there to kill him.
So here's what happened, for sake of time. So the main guy that was running Austria-Hungary at the time got murdered, right? Just like what happened in Iran, right? With the general in Iran, right? This guy got murdered by a bunch of Serbian terrorists. And when this sparked off, right, it started a war between these two groups, between Austria-Hungary and Serbia. And so what happened was, now all the allies had to come into the picture, right? And as the reason why it's a world war is because, keep in mind, Europe was colonizing all of Africa, right? Which is what they call scramble for Africa. But after that assassination, this is what sparked off the war. It's after this man got assassinated right here, right? And so now Germany jumps in, Britain jumps in, France jumps in, right? Because these are Serbia's allies. Russia jumps in, right? And so now eventually later down the line, America jumps in it. This is around the time, I believe Woodrow Wilson was in office at the time. And he was trying to say, we're not going to join the war. We're not going to join the war. But if you're my ally, right? And you don't, and I'm in a beef, right? And I'm getting manhandled in the beef, and you just sitting there watching. How do you think I'm gonna look at you?
Sideways.
You know what I mean? Let me see that computer real quick. I just want to pull up some notes. Oh, we got. Get it back up.
Can you get it back up?
Yeah, probably shut off. See it though.
Let's go to the camera section and the mic section. Pop it back up like we did.
Yeah.
Earlier.
Oh, you can't even change the source. It's because we pulled out. Yeah. Okay, I see that. Shalom. Okay, y'all probably can't see me. Hopefully y'all can see me. Can you
Hold
see me?
on. You're back up.
I'm back up?
Hold on. Let me get it to move forward.
No sweat.
Yeah, we got the question mark. And let's give it a few seconds and most likely it'll be back up and running.
Oh yeah? That's how it works?
Yeah. Because you didn't lose feed, but you lost with just visual.
Yeah,
It's
just
sound.
yeah. I see what you're saying. Lights.
Lights ain't up?
No.
You gotta do your setup again.
What you mean?
How you set it up before?
Yeah, but the camera popped up at least. Yeah, we about to. Yeah, I can't do it. Yeah, we about to wrap it up. No? Tired.
It's you gotta give it time, sir. It just ain't gonna pop back up like that.
No sweat. We'll just end the class. It's alright.
You sure?
Yeah, we'll just end the class.
It's alright. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still on the question mark. But
Shalom. Yeah, it's.
all that time to rise it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's alright. Shalom. Yeah, that's it.
Shut it down there.
Alright. Shalom with the Israelite School Universe Practical Knowledge. We're having technical difficulties, so we're just going to end the class. Tune in tomorrow. Officer Wakaria will be teaching the Brotherhood class. And with that, shalom.
Shalom.